Guys, welcome back. Helen here with Droid Life. So we're taking a look today at OnePlus's new phone, the OnePlus 3T. Now we know what you're saying. We just looked at the OnePlus 3 all of 5 months ago, reviewed it, raved about it, and even recommended a number of you go and buy it. So what are we doing here with another new phone? Well, I think it's obvious OnePlus realized they can improve upon that flagship in just this short amount of time. And so they've done that by releasing a new phone just before the holidays. It's a pretty smart move. But should you as a consumer be frustrated by that? Or should you be really excited that you now have a new flagship phone to choose from? Let's talk about all of that. This is our review of the OnePlus 3T. Not that I'm trying to cut this review short or keep it really short by any means, but if you haven't read our OnePlus 3 review already, you should probably go do that because these are almost identical phones outside of the upgrades in battery, processor, front camera, and then a shiny new color. Now that's all a really good thing. So you've got specs in common that include a 5.5-inch Full HD AMOLED display, 6 gig RAM, 16 megapixel rear camera with optical image stabilization, fingerprint sensor on the bottom, front, Bluetooth 4.2, connectivity on GSM networks like T-Mobile and AT&T, this premium metal build, and a really attractive price for the package. As for differences, you have an upgraded Snapdragon 821 processor versus the 820 in the original 3, outstanding battery life with a 3400 mAh upgrade versus the 3000 mAh battery in the 3, a 16 megapixel front shooter versus that 8 megapixel shooter, and then of course this new gunmetal colorway. At $439, you're looking at about a $40 upgrade over the OnePlus 3 to get into the 3T. Now, we wouldn't necessarily look at that as being some sort of ripoff, even as close as we are to the 3's launch, because you do get that upgraded processor, you do get that upgraded battery capacity, and you do get that upgraded front camera. So it seems like the added value there might even be worth that price hike. So look, this phone is very much like the OnePlus 3, and in fact, OnePlus says that once they've both received their update to Android Nougat by the end of the month, they'll be on the same software path going forward, which makes them even more difficult to tell apart. And with that in mind, with Nougat on the way, I'm starting to wonder after spending most of the week with the OnePlus 3T if I'm even going to go back to my Google Pixel. Okay, that's probably taking it a little bit too far, but this at least has me considering the idea, which is something I wasn't sure any phone could do. OnePlus is just really doing some great things with smartphones right now, from the premium metal body and the curves and the way the phone fits in your hand, to the button placement and the versatility and quickness of the home button. Of course, you have the alert slider, which is at least unique to Android phones, and then of course the price, coupled with the fact that OnePlus actually seems to be issuing updates much quicker. This is the type of stuff that gets nerds like us going, especially when you're talking Android smartphones. Specifically, I love things like the software here, which comes as OnePlus's Oxygen OS. So what they do is basically like Motorola does. They offer this clean or pure look at Android without a heavy skin, and then instead they just add on useful features on top. And I always love a cleaner and leaner approach to Android, but in order to stand out, you have to sort of really add meaningful improvement. I think OnePlus nails that here. The OnePlus 3T ships with Oxygen OS 3.5.3, but we'll soon have an update to Nougat that I just mentioned before the end of 2016. So this is Marshmallow, but it's souped up Marshmallow. You get OnePlus's custom launcher with its shelf add-on, which is sort of a similar take on Google's Google Now. You get a mostly stock notification shade with the option to customize tiles. You get the choice of capacitive or software navigation buttons. You get a night mode, gestures on the lock screen for launching things like the camera, flashlight, and even a nifty 3-finger screenshot swipe. You can tune the screen to your temperature preference, change the system theme, set up multiple fingerprints on the excellent fingerprint reader, customize the navigation buttons to do specific actions like say double tap on home to launch the camera, or long press on it to put the phone to sleep. And you can even make sure to get the most out of the above average battery life with battery saver and other optimization modes. And to think that this phone already has all of this, yet will soon be upgraded to Nougat to get more features that Google's introduced in that version of Android, man, the upside here is so good. Battery life is also about as good as you'll find on any smartphone. Now, we're not talking Moto Z Play territory, which is that full 2-day battery life, though I wouldn't doubt if some of you got pretty close to it. With my notoriously bad battery experiences, I've been really impressed. I'm talking not plugging the phone in but once every 24 hours. I'm averaging about 4 hours of screen on time, which is a lot for me. I can tell you right now, my Pixel, my Galaxy S7, and my LG V20 sure aren't getting me anywhere close to that. In general, I'm a big fan of the in-hand experience and overall usability as well, from the bottom headphone jack to the premium build to the option to turn on on-screen buttons while still getting use out of that home button. There really isn't a better option or setup of buttons and ergonomics than this. While I tend to favor rear-mounted fingerprint readers, the placement here is optimal because of the flexibility in the button and that it can be active as you also use the on-screen buttons. The addition of an alert slider is pretty great as well, knowing you can silence your phone without having to wake it up. I know that's getting somewhat specific here, but it's all those little details that allow phones to stand out these days. And finally, the charging experience here is about the best in the business. OnePlus is once again using their Dash Charge technology, which is to take on fast charging through USB Type-C. They call it the fastest in the business, and I tend to believe them. They say you can charge fast while the phone is off, locked, or even while gaming. They're able to achieve that speed by pushing the heat generated during charging to the actual adapter rather than the phone. So your phone never heats up while charging and is able to blaze through percentages to full capacity while in use or sitting idle. It's actually pretty incredible stuff. The OnePlus 3T is a phone without any really serious issues, but I'll still point out a few things that may turn some of you off. For one, it doesn't have an SD card slot, no wireless charging, no water resistance, or that Quad HD display that you see on other phones. Now, are those deal breaker items? As I mentioned in the OnePlus 3, I don't really think so. Few companies are including all those things these days outside of Samsung, but most also aren't charging you well under $500. HTC and LG want 600 plus for phones without some of those, yet OnePlus is asking for just $440. For storage hogs, they even have a 128 gig option for another $40 to go along with the 32 gig base model. I think if you look at the missing pieces while factoring in the reasonable price, it's tough to really complain about this stuff. The camera isn't the best you'll find either. I don't know that it's bad by any means, and I'm certainly not saying that it is, but what I am saying is that it doesn't match up to the Pixel or the Galaxy S7 or even the LG G5. Just like the regular OnePlus 3, the 60 megapixel camera with OIS at f2.0 can take really nice pictures with good lighting and no movement. However, once that lighting starts changing, your scenery starts shifting, you shouldn't expect great things all the time. But not only that, I just don't know how many times I fired off 2 or 3 shots in a situation, looked at those shots later and found at least one of the 3 to be out of focus. Then when I took the picture and tapped that shutter button, I was in focus. So it's almost as if the camera isn't as quick as the software is letting on to be. I don't know, but that's a problem if you aren't like me and take multiple shots at a time. Images just often lack that sharpness and clarity you find in other phones also. The camera tends to let in way too much light, so I had to regularly use the exposure slider that is included in the focus. Once you get used to that, the picture quality does improve. Thankfully, the camera does include full manual controls should you want to go that route. It also has 4K shooting, time-lapse, slow motion, and even panorama. So this is a fully featured camera experience. I just think OnePlus needs to spend some time improving the image quality. Finally, and this may be the biggest deal breaker of all, the OnePlus 3T is an unlocked GSM only phone. So for those of you stuck on specific carriers, namely Verizon or Sprint, this phone just won't work. As a GSM phone, it'll work fine on T-Mobile and AT&T, but that's about it. Let's go back to those opening questions for a minute, like should you be frustrated with or mad at OnePlus for releasing the 3T so close to the 3? Now look, if you bought the phone within the last couple of weeks or a month, you could have some beef there. I totally get that, especially since OnePlus isn't offering any sort of trade-in program. But if you bought the phone months ago, like when it first launched, I just think you have to understand that that's how this industry often works. There's rapid change, and when there's an opportunity to take on that rapid change, OnePlus took that change on and created a new product in order to benefit their company. I just don't see any fault with that. Also, the OnePlus 3 is still a really good phone that's only a couple of months old and should work well for a really, really long time. Just enjoy it. What about the rest of us? Should the rest of us be excited? I actually do think so. What you've got here is OnePlus, this young, modern, quickly moving, or at least they've proven that they can be a quickly moving tech company. So they gave us this really good phone months ago and then immediately went, wait, we can improve this thing and we'll just kill off that other one and only give everyone this new phone because we want you to have the best of the best. Now, they did this in a short amount of time. They didn't have to wait and delay and follow all these big company intervals that you see from companies like Samsung. And so that's a pretty exciting idea to think that there are companies out there that can still improve upon things, move quickly, and give us more options, better options in a really quick manner. As for whether or not should you buy the OnePlus 3T, I'd say absolutely, especially if your budget is well under $500. At that $440 price point, you get not only a premium metal-built smartphone with top-tier specs, you also get a best-in-Android software experience, incredible battery life, and the promise of a nougat update in the very near future.